This podcast is part of the Planet Broadcasting Network.
Visit planetbroadcasting.com for more podcasts from our great mates.
Welcome back to Caravan of Garbage, a show where we go, hey, let's look at this thing. That's what we normally do, isn't it, Mason? And we never, ever have guests,
Well,
ever.
I mean, normally we don't have guests, but I feel like the format's getting a little bit stale.
Agreed.
Just for this week, though. I'm sure next week it'll be fresh and fun. We won't need to have any guests, but...
This will give us the boost that we need, and then we'll throw them aside, and then we're back to the stronger than we've ever been.
Absolutely right, yes.
Leave a like if you could. We're joined by two members of Aunty Donna here, Sam and Zach. They've got a new series on Netflix, out today, actually, the day that this video is going out. Aunty Donna's Big Ol' House of Fun. Oh.
Sounds exciting. Don't watch it yet. Watch this video first and then...
But then watch it immediately after this
that,
video.
yeah.
Correct. Did you know... What time's it come out? This will be for the extended edit.
I honestly thought you were going to ask, did you know you have a series coming out on Netflix? Zach and Sam?
Do you know what? It's so funny. I just had a conversation with someone yesterday and they're like, what time does it come out? And I was looking at daylight savings time. I was looking at all of those things and I was like, this is so exhausting. What are the chances? I'm going to look tomorrow night. What are the chances between now and tomorrow night someone's going to go specifically, what time is your show coming out? In Australia, it's midnight Pacific time.
Okay.
That's what I know.
Okay.
Midnight, 12:01 Pacific time.
Zach,
Pacific Daylight Time? I don't know.
Zach, I'll stop you right there. Listeners, just figure it out yourself. It's not hard. It's on Netflix. They'll send you a reminder. Just give him a break,
That's
all right?
a good idea, because you can
God.
put it on the Watch Next or whatever.
Watch
can't
next.
ya?
Put it on the watch next. Or sit down like I did with the weird online calculator converter thing.
that.
I've got like 8 of those that I use and they're all the worst. Do you know what I mean?
Just a terrible,
Yeah.
terrible thing. Do that or the watch list.
Yeah.
One of those options. I'd
Perfect.
say, yeah.
It's a great show and it's very exciting.
It's exciting that you guys got a TV show, like an honest-to-God amazing TV show on the second best streaming platform in the world. Because there's a big dog, isn't there?
Yeah.
It's called Quibi.
Emailing with Broden to be like, what do you want to talk about for Caravan of Garbage? And he was like, Zach has opinions on 50 States of Fright, specifically. He did.
Broden
Thank you, Broden.
He knows me too well. He knows me better than I know myself.
It seems that way.
I have a question. Is it Quibi or Quibi? Because
Does it
I've
matter?
never heard it said out loud by anybody who runs Quibi or Quibi.
Yeah,
And
okay.
it's supposed to be quick bites of entertainment. So
But here's my problem with a diphthong, I believe it's called, where the vowel takes 2 sounds to make. That's too long. When you're saying quibi, we're spending too much time and we're not capturing the energy of a quibi.
Yeah, it's
very true, isn't it?
That. So Quibi, for people who don't know, it's a dead streaming service or soon to be dead, where they take 4-minute chunks of things, and it's like the internet but on your phone. How would it be? How would you guys describe it?
So think of a bad idea.
Okay,
I can do that, sure.
Put a lot of money behind it.
I don't have any money, but I'll give it a whirl.
And then, that's Quibi. Yeah, that's it.
I need to be really honest here. I think Roden's put me and Sam in this room together when he booked this appointment, because when we were in LA, everyone was talking Quibi. we're developing this show.
Oh, really?
In post-production, we're in a post-production house and we kind of are micromanagers with the edit, and all editors hate us.
Are you thinking that we've jumped on board the wrong platform? We should have been on this Quibi?
Well, everyone's doing Quibi. Across from us is Quibi. Down the hall is Quibi. Everyone's editing their Quibi, and they've got the best layer, because if you don't know this about Quibi, they're what's the word? They're not IP. Their point of difference is that everything you watch, you can watch either horizontally or vertically.
Is that true?
Absolutely.
I do know that. That's incredible.
Wow. And you can turn it and so basically you can either watch it as the filmmaker intended or awkwardly cropped vertically. And every other editing suite had one horizontal screen and one vertical screen.
God.
And Sam was just like, this is a terrible idea. This is a terrible idea. Why are they doing this? And I was so like, give it a go. You never know. I read one article in the Hollywood Reporter about how they're being clever with the vertical thing. And I think it took you like a day before you were proved right. Is that
Oh,
fair?
maybe. I feel like maybe I was insane because I heard the idea and I was like, that's not going to work.
Yeah.
And then you just start talking to people and everyone's like, there's so many shows, everyone's doing it. I'm like, maybe
Maybe you're crazy.
I'm crazy.
Yeah.
And then it comes out and it all comes crashing down. I'm
Maybe
like,
this 75-year-old man is right.
Maybe he's got the finger on the pulse.
But I guess that also, like, one of the other downfalls of Quibi was that it was like, it's the perfect thing to watch on the train. You're just holding it in one hand, you're holding the strap in the other hand, and you're like, but then all of a sudden nobody's taking a train, nobody's taking a bus.
Well, they did blame a lot of the crash of this on the pandemic when every other streaming service is booming, hardcore, and people are hungry for content, scary content in particular.
And there's no scarier location to watch a scary movie than again on a train.
Yeah.
with just a guy's armpit just leaning into your face.
Were you guys scared? Were you like scared about the like Quibi coming into your commute space?
Sure, yeah, it crossed my mind, definitely.
I like the other pictures, like waiting in the sandwich shop. Like, you know, you're just there, you order your sandwich, you go stand in the corner and you watch someone like get their arm hacked off with an axe. And you're like, great, this is what I want to do. This is a great time.
Just the idea of like a sandwich shop. They're like, oh, sorry, there'll be about a 10-minute wait on the sandwich. You're like, that's perfect because I want to know what's going to happen to Liam Hemsworth next.
So you mentioned the cutting off of the arm because we're here to talk about specifically the episode The Golden Arm.
The 3 episodes, yeah.
Which is based off an old fable, which was a spoken word story, which was written down something like 200 years ago, and Edgar Allan Poe told his versions, and there's been different iterations of it over the years. But this is, fuck all that, don't worry about that. This is the modern day.
It's hot and fresh.
It's hot and fresh, and it's Michigan, as you pointed out.
So this series was going to be a different spooky legend or story from each state in America, and each state was going to get 3 episodes. So ideally, they were going to do 150 episodes of this.
How far did they get? Does anybody know?
Like 35 or something?
That's pretty good.
That's pretty impressive. 35 episodes or 35 states?
I think 35 episodes, yeah.
That's not as good.
It's not quite as good. It just reminds me of when like Sufjan Stevens like released a couple of albums that were like these are each one of these is based on a state, and they're like, is he going to do every state? And then he just stopped doing it.
Just if there's anyone, I love that notion.
If anyone's had time, Sufjan, you have right now. What are you doing, mate? Just knock him out now. What have you been at home?
I would have loved either Sufjan or the producers of 50 States of Scary to. I would have loved either of them to commit because. It's not so much the last of because they would have saved a few good ones,
Yeah.
or the first, because Golden Arm is just perfect. It's the middle. It's that like, all right, we're a year and a half into this project.
Yeah.
We've got a year and a half to go. I guess we could tell a spooky story about Wisconsin.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Do the episodes also reflect the states?
I wondered about that.
'Cause
I'm
I
wondering,
don't know
like,
if-
if people in Michigan watch this and go, damn, this is Michigan through and through.
That's
This
the
is-
golden arm, like on our flag. Yeah. So can someone summarize the golden arm for me? Because
It's a classic.
what?
It's a classic love story. Boy meets girl. Boy accidentally drops a tree on girl.
Yep.
Boy then amputates girl's arm.
Yep.
Girl then convinces boy to build her a golden arm to wear.
Yes. Which poisons her. She won't take it off because of vanity.
because
have-
of vanity.
Because she wants to impress the local children.
Yeah, that's right, for some reason. But the funny thing about that was, as she's laying there dying and she's covered in sores, but she's gripping a golden arm, it's like, you look worse. Like, I know you're vain, but you look terrible. Like, people aren't looking at the arm, they're looking at you and going like, don't do that. What are you doing?
I sometimes I write notes for these episodes we do, but I only have one note for this, and it's just all in caps, and it says pulmonary gold disease, and then there's 3 exclamation points because that's the disease she got.
Yeah. So, real disease, apparently. Or you
Really?
can get poisoned by, I guess, any metal or anything if you ingest enough of it.
That's amazing. It's-
Through the 6 square inches of the stump of your arm.
I guess so, yeah.
Put a sock over it.
I think the best part of all of it though is that's the story I knew about. That's the story that went viral when the person, because again, another quick criticism of Quibi.
Criticism.
A criticism was that you couldn't share the videos on social
Right,
media.
yeah.
So famously, someone put episode played on one phone, the Quibi episode, and then filmed it with their partner's phone on the bed, posted that video on Twitter, and it went quite viral. And it was around this notion of lady with a golden arm and all of the thing we just described. What shocked me was that's the first 2 episodes or the first 10 minutes, but then there's another episode.
Yeah.
And I was like, where is this going to go?
Yeah. It takes a hard turn. But I just want to also quickly mention Sam Raimi directed this.
Oh, yes, he
And
did.
wrote it, yeah.
And with his brother Ivan. And it looks good. And to be it's insane, but it's captivating, right? Was that just me? I was like,
no.
I'm in.
Fascinating, yeah.
I'm 100% committed to this.
When I saw the credits and it said written by Sam Raimi and Ivan Raimi, for a minute I'm like, I'm gonna feel really bad if like Sam Raimi wrote this with like his grandson, and I'm like, well, it's dumb, but you know they're just being a family doing the thing, and I'm like, oh, it's his older brother who wrote this. Okay,
It's literally, I remember when I watched it, I realized it's literally what happens when you give an artist free reign, when the only note is make sure it's vertical. If you're curious what Sam Raimi, what happens with Sam Raimi when he has free reign, except for the fact that he needs to crop it, you get this.
Do you think, though, he knows what he's doing and it's an intentionally funny piece of work? Because he is very tongue-in-cheek. You look at like The Evil Dead or even something more recent, the Drag Me to Hell. He's got that kind of sensibility. Do you think this is like he's going for laughs and ridiculousness? Is that what this is?
No. No. Maybe. No, I
the
think
final shot's pretty funny.
Yeah, like I think he's going for a certain kitsch. I think he's going for something. That last third almost makes it work, but there's a certain kind of, I'll give him like it was an experiment. I'll give him like the same credit I give Jon Favreau for the Lion King remake, and I think I'm one of the few people that gives it. He's like, what happens if you make him realistic? Oh, it turns out it's not as good. But, give it a crack.
Yeah.
I think that he was like, could you make a story out of this fable? And the answer was, nah, it's a bit weird when you actually see the person committing to the arm.
yeah.
I feel like he also really leans hard into it. And I guess the lesson is supposed to be as well that, what a bitch. Do you know what I mean? Because it's like, it seems like she's really like, she's so vain and so stupid and she's taking advantage of her husband. And even the fact that, because he makes her the golden arm, even though he's like, I haven't got any money. And then he goes and gets it back, and she's like, "How dare you?" And it's like, but
you cut her arm off.
Yeah,
like,
but
give her that at least. Give her an arm.
But he needs the gold to live. Like, it's not like he went there, because often the fable is like a grave robber is selfish and whatever. But for this, it's like his business is dying and he needs the money. Do you know what I mean? And then it's like, well, fuck you, no. Like, that's not your arm.
Yeah, like, what is the moral? Like, the moral makes sense. Initially, it's like, oh, it's a moral, and the moral is to people like her, but then, like, by the third act, is the moral don't marry selfish, vain people?
I guess.
Well,
the only thing that she gave him was, like, writing her name in the floor of his barn. And that's nothing. So, like, she's not painted... By the way, beautiful performances. Some great cast members in this. But sorry, Sam, you were going to say.
Oh, no, well, they do give her the wonderful redeeming feature of she's on the fundraising committee, which I really enjoyed. I was like, she is a three-dimensional character. She's not just out to impress the town's children. She is on the fundraising committee as well.
I love that notion of like, maybe there was one more note, and it was along the lines of, look, we worry this character is very archetypal, very sexist, very old-fashioned. Could we give her some dimension? But keep that episode under 5 minutes. Like, maybe we could put her on the fundraising committee? How do you do that? It's pretty phenomenal. I love it. I love Quibi.
I love the gore. Like, when she's pinned under the tree. I wish I didn't know about this going in, by the way.
Yeah.
Like, I wish I hadn't heard anything.
Yeah.
Because when that tree falls on her and the blood sprays up and he's trying to yank her out from under. But it's like, dude, you're a lumberjack. Use some, like, leverage. And then he's just...
Cut the wood?
Cut the wood? He also doesn't seem to... Why is he even using an axe? Have you ever tried to cut down a tree with an axe? Because he's like, I just got to quickly cut down this tree before the end of the day. You just need to help me. That would have taken, like... 4 hours to get through that tree. She's already dressed for a different thing, and he's like, "No, this tree has to come down, like right now."
Also, it's just they're just in a clearing. Like, he could have just chainsawed it and run.
Yeah,
like,
that's
the odds
right.
that it would hit him was pretty low, right?
So he's got like his computer with his 3D modeling program
Yep.
and
Oh,
an
yeah.
axe, but not a chainsaw. Like, that's where he's existing.
If
as
they
a
had more,
lumberjack.
if they had more minutes, there should have been a scene where he changes the settings from like period era furniture to prosthetic limbs in the CAD program. He just changes a tab.
I'm a big fan with these sorts of shows. Like I've been watching a lot of old stuff recently just to like watch more old stuff. And there's this sense sometimes I've realized, because I keep saying I'm the big fiend for like, why didn't they go to the police? Why are they solving this themselves?
Yeah.
And then you watch any movie before 1995 and it's like, oh, because like they did go to the police, and that scene always plays out exactly the same. It's always like, hey, I think there's a ghost talking to me, and the cop's like, a ghost? Oh yeah.
In this haunted town? I don't think so.
Oh, all right, mate. Come back to me when you've got some real evidence. And you don't need that scene. Whereas this, I think even with another hour, there might have been some holes.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, okay, so it takes a turn, Sam. You know this better than anybody.
Oh, doesn't it take a turn? It goes into Spooksville.
Yeah, it does. But there's no like hint of this is a spooky universe.
No,
It's just she's a zombie.
Yeah, the doctor isn't like, I don't understand why you're dying. Maybe it's the ghosts or whatever. It's just like,
there should have been a line like that.
there should have been a line. They could have added a line in post.
Yeah.
She had a dream. That was the only setup. She's like, I've had a dream, and then magic.
Yeah.
You know, like just out of nowhere. You're like, okay.
The bit when I knew it was really turning ghostly was when the photographs of her were changing. And one of it is her threateningly holding an axe. Like it's changed. It's changed to that.
My favorite layer, I watched this. I've got a really special reveal that I actually watched this. You sent us a file because I don't think we can watch Quibi anymore. I actually watched this show on Quibi with my 3-month free trial.
Oh my God.
Quite a few months ago. Rewatched it, of course, for this, but I still remember that exact moment when the ghost is changing on the frame and that the picture is changing, and I remember thinking I should be scared, but all I can think of is as I look at my phone, my television is in my periphery vision. It was literally that moment where I'm not scared because I should be watching this on the television.
Was your TV on?
No, it was just off. There was
So an off television was distracting you from the ghost story you were watching.
It's like, here I am watching this. I was watching it in vertical, in horizontal. I had decided at that point that horizontal was better. So here I am watching this show in horizontal on a much smaller screen than the one available to me. And I thought, maybe Sam's right about Quibi.
He knew.
Sam, I feel I must ask also. So, how did you? What did you cheat? Did you watch it on a laptop or a television screen? Or did
I
you do
watched it on a laptop, so I did cheat. Unfortunately,
yeah.
no, I didn't get Quibi because I thought it was a bad idea.
Okay, that's
Interesting
Yeah.
take, Sam. We'll see how that plays out, won't we?
Righto.
To be fair though, I think Sam Raimi is a master of horror and horror comedy, and I think it's unsettling when he's under the blanket. You get that, it's kind of. Yeah, but I think maybe because I watched it on a laptop, so I was getting the full effect also.
Yeah.
But it reminded me of like being a kid and you're under the blanket and you can't really see what's going on, and she's getting closer and closer, and then she takes the arm back and then takes the time to reattach it and then run back in and cut his throat.
I did love that. It was great. I will say that the last episode of the 3 was the best of the Quibbies.
Sure.
That was very. It was one of those ones where it was great in spite of. I remember I saw a criticism of all the Quibbies where it was a particular one actually where they said it felt like a sizzle reel for a good show. The best Quibi felt like, and it's like. Yeah, this is the problem
I
with
can imagine
Quibi.
this being a full-length good show.
Yeah. And one of my favorite parts, I had a couple more favorite parts that I wanted to talk about.
Isn't it wild that it's like 17 minutes long, but we've got so many favorite parts?
This
so
video
in a way, it is genius.
This video will be longer than the actual show, but there's a moment where he presents the first arm that he makes for her, and she's just like, get that out of my face. And presumably he made it.
Yeah.
Also, because he's got the software basically.
Yeah. She's like, you need to add the gold titanium alloy from the Seraphim tactical satellite. Throw some hot rod red on there. You know what I mean? Really Iron Man it up.
Absolutely. And the other part that I loved, and it really kind of hit home at the end, is it's sort of filmed like a documentary because it's a man telling the story. It's like, Sarah, whatever her name is, she was always too vain, and in the end, like, nobody goes near that grave. And it's like, oh yeah, this is like a documentary sort of with flashbacks to a ghost.
And there was just an element, like, there was nothing he said, but I was like, there are details to this story that the man knows. I'm like, how did he know what happened in that house that night? Like,
yeah. Absolutely. Well, maybe that's the thing. Maybe it's all from his perspective. Like, maybe he did use leverage to get her out from under that tree.
Yeah, you know? Maybe it was just one man living on the balcony, kind of recalling it a bit wrong.
That's a show I'd watch. That's
Definitely.
fantastic.
So you delved into more 50 States of Fright, did you?
Not so much the 50 States of Fright, but I watched. There's something fascinating about Quibi because what Quibi did. There's two things I love about Quibi. The first thing that I love about Quibi is I remember when we were pitching for our Netflix show. We pitched to 3 streamers. There was kind of a strategy that our production company broke down for us. And we pitched first to 3 big streamers. And then they're like, when they say no, we'll go to these guys. And then when they say no, we'll go to these ones. And then we didn't even get to Quibi, but that's right down the list.
Yeah.
And I think
But it was on your list?
It would have been. I'm sure we would have pitched to Quibi eventually.
I honestly had the thought when I finished watching this, I'm like, I reckon Aunty Donna could do some really great sketches on this. And then I'm like, oh, that's YouTube, I guess. They do that.
If only there was a platform that you can watch on your commute that has high quality 15 to 20 minute videos.
But sorry, you were saying you were pitching.
But it actually, to be fair, like if this worked, this would be suited to some of the stuff that you've done.
Oh, look, there was a huge
YouTube,
amount
obviously,
of
yeah.
there was a huge amount of there, but for the grace of God go I when I was watching Quibi, just thinking like, oh, I could see us like pushing our Quibi show.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, there's Medium articles being written by the CEO going, we fucked up. Like, but no, there was the layer that I loved about Quibi was what are the pitches that don't get through when J-Lo has an idea for a reality show, or when someone thinks, oh, let's do a show that's like Nailed It, but it's about making big weed things. What happens? What are the ideas that HBO, Netflix, Disney, all of the basic cable networks, all of the networks say no to? What are those ideas? And Quibi, for a brief moment, gave us a hint of the shows that didn't make it through everyone else, because I think they were just like, yeah, all right, if you can make it vertical, please God.
But I feel like also there's a layer below that of things that didn't get through. So what does that look like?
What didn't get onto Quibi? Like, what? But it's sad because there was some great stuff on it, but it was just a bit of a funny little platform.
Worth $1.75 billion.
Oh my
goodness. It's a funny little platform.
I kind of hope, because apparently if you make something for Quibi, you own it, so you can like shop it around something else. I kind of hope that it'll all come to Netflix, but just in like a really narrow band in the middle of your television screen.
I also feel like a lot of this stuff isn't actually really made for Quibi, because it's a 20-minute show. That's what this is. And the second episode is like 9 minutes.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So it's not even formatted in 4 minutes or whatever. Yeah. So
there's probably a lot of people in the back of their mind just thinking like, we'll get this back. When Quibi falls, we'll just sell this to Hulu.
It's like the Cobra Kai show. It's now on Netflix. People are loving it. But you know what else is on Netflix?
Oh, I love this. Tiger King.
Is it Enola Holmes?
Yeah.
Yes, those are absolutely
You've
correct.
got one more guess, and if you get it wrong, you're out.
50 States of Fear.
No, Sam, that was on Quibi. I think that was a little bit of it's an industry thing. I know you're one of the writers, but it's more of a hint for us to then promote our show, which is what was it called again?
God, they're bad, James. They're bad at this. I don't know what they're
I
doing.
don't know.
We've just said it.
I mean, we're not good at this, but they're worse at this.
It's weird, and they're on Netflix. I don't understand.
It's Aunty Donna's Big Old House of Fun, out November 11th, 12:01 a.m. Oh no,
He's fallen into the trap again.
If you're watching this, it's probably out.
it's probably out.
Yeah. And look, you guys have probably seen a bunch of their skits before on YouTube. You may have heard their album. You might have seen some of their live shows. You may have heard their podcast. You may have heard Broden and Mark on our podcast, The Weekly Planet. But it's so incredible that you guys got this opportunity, and it's really exciting. We couldn't be happier for you guys to be on a platform that's relatively stable and that people can see your work on such a huge network of interconnected cables.
It's very, very exciting. We are a little sad that you can't see it on a vertical screen. We tried to get that through.
I could probably re-edit, put it on Pirate Bay if you wanted.
If you could give it a crop, that would be awesome.
Cool, yeah.
But yeah, no, super exciting. And thanks so much for having us on.
No problem. Thank you for being the first and probably only guest on this show. We're locking it down now, aren't we?
No more guests after this.
Yeah. So no, we really appreciate it, and thank you for the suggestion as well.
Yeah.
Because Broden, who's not here, I guess.
I think he was just throwing us to the wolves so we'd have our big Quibi disagreements. But here's the fact: Sam was right. Jeff Katzenberg, maybe he's lost his golden touch.
Yeah. Wow.
Right, yeah.
Wow. Also, here's a hint towards next week's thing. We put in I don't know what it is. I often don't know week to week. But and then this goes in the extended edit and whatever, and people.
That's right.
Don't really listen to it, to be honest. But
well, as we say every week here over at Caravan of Garbage, bury me with my golden foot. I have a golden foot. It's a new part of the continuity. We probably won't mention it again, but one of my big golds.
I love it. Yeah. Thanks, guys. This podcast is part of the Planet Broadcasting Network.
Visit planetbroadcasting.com for more podcasts from our great mates.
I mean, if you want. It's up to you.